Imagine we are standing in the heart of ancient Rome. Before us rises a colossal structure, weathered by time for nearly 2,000 years. It is not merely a pile of stone and concrete ruins. It is the very soul of an empire, a place where the roar of the crowd once echoed, and where the last breaths of history still linger. Today, join me as we explore the gripping and turbulent story of the Roman Colosseum, an enduring symbol of power and ambition. It all began with a tragedy and a political scheme. In 64 AD, a great fire ravaged much of Rome. The reigning emperor Nero was widely suspected of orchestrating it, and in order to pacify public outrage and rebuild his image, he seized a vast area in the city center to construct an extravagant palace called the Domus Aurea, the Golden House. In front of the palace, Nero erected a colossal bronze statue of himself. However, Nero's reign collapsed in disgrace. And then, after a bloody period of civil war, the general Vespasian rose to power, founding the Flavian dynasty. He was a practical emperor, a man forged in the military. Unlike his extravagant predecessor, Vespasian understood that to secure his throne, he had to win over the common people. And what better way than to give back the very land Nero had seized? Thus, around 70 to 72 AD, he ordered the artificial lake on the grounds of the Golden House to be drained and filled in. It was precisely there, on that reclaimed land, and that the first stones of the amphitheater were laid. A curious truth, the name Colosseum that we use today was not its original name. It derived from that very colossal statue of Nero that once stood nearby. People mockingly referred to the area as near the Colossus. And that name, by a twist of irony, has outlasted the very emperor it was meant to satirize, attaching itself forever to the monument built by the dynasty that overthrew him. Next, by the hand of brilliant architects, a wonder was born. The structure was officially named the Amphitheatrum Flavium, the Flavian Amphitheater. It is a masterpiece that marries the refined engineering of Rome with the brutal labor of tens of thousands of slaves, many of them Jewish prisoners taken in the Jewish War. An enormous ellipse measuring 189 meters long, 156 meters wide, and 48 meters high, it could accommodate between 50,000 and 80,000 spectators. Its most remarkable feature was the system of 80 arched entrances on the ground floor, clearly numbered, which allowed the massive crowds to enter and exit within about 15 minutes. Indeed, it was an organizational and crowd management feat that we in the modern era can only admire. In 80 AD, Vespasian's son Titus officially inaugurated the Colosseum with a festival lasting 100 days and nights. It is said that during that blood-soaked celebration, thousands of wild beasts were slaughtered, and countless gladiators fell. The wooden arena floor was covered with sand to soak up the blood, and beneath it lay a complex labyrinth known as the Hippodrome, a network of tunnels, holding cells, animal pens, and a system of elevators and pulleys operated by human muscle. Imagine this. In a single breathtaking moment, from beneath the earth, a roaring lion or a gladiator in resplendent armor could be hoisted onto the arena floor. Amid thunderous cheers, the Colosseum was a theater for the entire spectrum of human emotion. From elaborate beast hunts to plays reenacting mythological tales, to the savage execution of prisoners and the deadly duels of gladiators. However, behind this bloody, dazzling spectacle lay one of the most ruthless and effective political tools ever devised. The satirical poet Juvenal famously coined the phrase we still recall today, panem et circenses, bread and circuses. As long as the people were fed and entertained, they would forget every injustice and willingly worship the emperor. The Colosseum was a gigantic pressure release valve for the entire Roman society. But then, every glorious empire eventually meets its decline. As Christianity gradually became the state religion, these blood-soaked entertainments began to draw fierce opposition. Emperor Honorius in the early 5th century officially issued a decree banning gladiatorial combat. Yet the beast hunts continued for some time thereafter. After the fall of the Western Roman Empire, the city of Rome sank into chaos and ruin. The great amphitheater, no longer maintained, fell victim to a series of devastating earthquakes, which caused the entire southern wall to collapse. How poignant and yet filled with regret it is. Throughout the long centuries of the Middle Ages and the Renaissance, this magnificent edifice fell into neglect and was transformed into a vast, open-air quarry. People came to strip away its precious stones, its iron clamps, and its lead, to build new structures like St. Peter's Basilica and other noble palaces. Not until the 18th century did a great turning point arrive. Pope Benedict XIV declared the Colosseum a sacred site, a place of martyrdom for the early Christians. Though this claim historically lacks solid evidence, it was this very decision that saved what remained of the structure. From then on, it was no longer a soulless quarry. It became a holy symbol that needed to be preserved. So today, when we gaze upon the Roman Colosseum, what we see is not merely stone walls scarred by the ages. With one half of its original form intact and the other half a ruined cross-section exposing its bare skeleton, we see within it the entire turbulent history of humanity. It stands as a testament to the pinnacle of luxury, power, and engineering, but is, at the same time, a silent witness to brutality, bloodlust, and the impermanence of empires. Every crack, every moss-covered stone on its body, whispers tales of glory and decay, of the deafening roars of the past, and the profound silence of the present. And as a natural consequence, the Roman Colosseum, with the beauty of a magnificent ruin, has transcended the borders of Italy to become a global symbol, one of the new seven wonders of the world. It reminds us that no matter how mighty a structure may be, it will ultimately crumble to dust under the relentless wheel of time. But the stories, the aspirations, and even the sins of humanity will endure forever. There is, however, one more fascinating detail. Today, the Colosseum has taken on a completely different kind of role, a role that would have been unimaginable to the emperors who once filled it with bloodshed. Whenever a death sentence is commuted anywhere in the world, the nighttime illumination of the Colosseum changes from white to a brilliant gold. A monument built on cruelty and death has, over the centuries, been transformed into a beacon of life and hope. And that is the story of how a place once drenched in blood became a silent advocate for the sanctity of life, a true masterpiece not only of stone, but of the evolving human spirit.